Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a work that has profoundly shaped how millions think about success, relationships, even their very identity. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Our mission, well, it's to distill the most potent nuggets of wisdom from this, seminal text, not really as a simple how-to guide, but more as an opportunity to explore ourselves and our impact on others. Get ready for some unexpected insights, I think deeply relatable examples, and a path through ideas that just might fundamentally shift your perspective.
And you're right, this deep dive goes far beyond just business acumen. Covey presents a way of life, really, one rooted in ethical human relations. It's why this book resonates with everyone from top-tier CEOs to, well, individuals just navigating their daily lives. It offers a powerful response to that inner hunger many feel, even amidst outward success, that nagging sense that something deeper is missing.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the start then. Covey makes this fundamental distinction between what he calls the personality ethic and the character ethic. Now, for many of us, the personality ethic feels familiar, right? It's all about quick fixes, outward appearances, maybe even manipulative techniques, thinking you can charm or, trick your way through life. But the character ethic, that's about foundational integrity and timeless principles. It's like trying to cram for an exam on a farm,
Right.
But you can try to get short-term results, but in natural systems like human relationships, true, lasting success requires paying the price, following the process. There really are no shortcuts. You genuinely reap what you sow.
Exactly. And duplicity, presenting one face while being another, it inevitably breeds distrust. What's fascinating here is that secondary traits like charisma or charm, they lose all their permanent worth if they're not backed by deep integrity. As Emerson so eloquently put it, what you are shouts so loudly in my ears that I cannot hear what you say. Your character truly communicates the most powerfully, often without a single word.
And to truly grasp this, we really need to talk about paradigms and paradigm shifts. We've likely encountered these terms, but let's consider their deeper implications. Think of a paradigm as a mental model, a theory, maybe a frame of reference, essentially, a map in our heads that dictates how we perceive the world. Covey uses this powerful analogy. Imagine you're trying to navigate Chicago, but you've accidentally been given a map of Detroit. You can try harder, double your speed, be more diligent, even have a super positive attitude, but you'll still be lost.
You're just getting to the wrong place faster.
Exactly. The fundamental problem isn't your effort or your attitude. It's the accuracy of your map.
And what's truly fascinating here is how deeply ingrained these mental maps are. We often walk around assuming that the way we see things is objectively the way they are. We interpret everything through these maps, rarely questioning their accuracies, sometimes not even realizing we have them. This assumption can make true change profoundly uncomfortable, maybe even disorienting, because it challenges the very lens through which we've experienced reality.
Yeah, that's why the source uses that classic visual exercise. You're shown an image, right? And some people see a young woman while others see an old lady.
Right, the old lady, young woman picture.
They can vehemently disagree, and the amazing thing is, both can be right. It's not about logic, it's about psychology, about your prior conditioning, and the paradigm through which you're viewing the world.
And this demonstration brilliantly exposes a basic flaw of the personality ethic. If you try to change outward behaviors or attitudes without examining the underlying paradigms that produce them, well, the changes just won't last. It reinforces that idea that where we stand depends on where we sit. Sincere, clear-headed people truly can see the same facts differently, each through their own unique lens of experience. It's less about who's right, maybe, and more about understanding the source of the difference.
And that's where the aha moment of a paradigm shift comes in. It's like when a light suddenly flips on, right? And you see things in a fundamentally different way. Minor adjustments might come from tweaking attitudes or behaviors, but truly quantum change demands working on those basic paradigms. As Thoreau said, for every 1,000 hacking at the leaves of evil, there is one striking at the root. It's a call to look beyond symptoms to causes.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this leads us to the principle-centered paradigm. Principles aren't just values that we hold. They are universal, unchanging natural laws, kind of like gravity, that govern human effectiveness. They are the territory you see, while our values are our maps. When our maps align with these universal principles, they become accurate and truly functional. And just like with the farm analogy, seeking shortcuts in these natural processes like personal growth, well, it only leads to disappointment. This is why Covey's work is so enduring, I think. It taps into these timeless truths.
Okay, so with that foundation laid, this idea of seeing differently, of understanding principles, how do we build that internal strength, that self-mastery that makes genuine connection with others even possible? That brings us to part 2, private victories, mastery over self. Covey's inside-out approach means that private victories must precede public victories. You've got to achieve self-mastery before you can genuinely relate effectively with others. This journey into self-mastery begins with habit 1. Be proactive, which is all about personal vision and taking responsibility for your choices. We have these 4 unique human endowments: self-awareness, imagination, conscience, and independent will. These are what empower us to choose our response, not just react.
What's truly compelling here is the story of Viktor Frankl. Imprisoned in Nazi death camps, stripped of everything imaginable, his family, his dignity, he discovered the last of the human freedoms. Between the stimulus, the horrifying conditions, and his response, he realized he still had the freedom to choose how he would be affected.
Wow.
This is a profound testament to how our lives are ultimately a function of our choices, not just our conditions. It's a radical concept, isn't it? To find freedom in the most unfree of circumstances.
It really is. And that's the difference. Reactive people are affected by everything: the weather, social moods, other people's weaknesses. Proactive people, on the other hand, they're value-driven. They carry their own internal weather. It doesn't matter if it rains or shines. They subordinate their impulses to their values. Taking initiative simply means recognizing our responsibility to make things happen. In my own family, when someone is waiting for something to happen, we often say, use your R&I, resourcefulness, and initiative.
I like that.
It's about being a solution finder, not just a problem identifier.
And this raises an important question. Where do you focus your energy? Proactive people focus on their circle of influence, things they can actually control, like their own response. Reactive people, conversely, they drain their energy focusing on the circle of concern, things they can't control.
Right.
It's a simple diagram, but practicing it profoundly shifts your sense of agency and impact.
And it's important to remember that while we're free to choose our actions, we're not free to choose the consequences. Those are governed by natural law.
True.
So if you make a mistake, Covey encourages you to admit it, correct it, and learn from it immediately. Don't let it poison the next moment. And for anyone listening, try the 30-day proactivity test. Work only in your circle of influence. Make and keep small commitments to yourself. Be a light, not a judge, and focus on your own chosen response. You might be surprised by the ripple effect.
That's a great challenge.
So once we understand the power of being proactive, the next logical step is to direct that power, to choose where we're going. And that's where habit 2, begin with the end in mind, becomes so critical. I invite you, everyone listening, to try a profound exercise from the book. Imagine your own funeral, maybe 3 years from today. Visualize the setting, the people. Then think deeply. What would you want speakers from your family, friends, work, your community to say about your life and contributions? What kind of person would you want them to remember you as?
It's powerful. This exercise helps you contact your deepest, most fundamental values, cutting through the daily noise. What's fascinating here is the principle that all things are created twice. There's a mental or first creation, the vision, the blueprint, and then there's a physical or second creation, the actual building.
Okay.
Leadership is that first creation. It's about doing the right things, setting the right direction. Management, which is critical for the second creation, is doing things right. It's about ensuring your ladder is leaning against the right wall before you even start climbing.
Right. And if your ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, this habit helps you re-script yourself to change those ineffective patterns. Think of Anwar Sadat, who was, as Covey notes, deeply scripted in a hatred for Israel.
Yeah, incredible story.
Yet from a prison cell, he learned self-awareness, imagination, conscience, enabling him to re-script himself and eventually achieve historic peace. That's the power of changing your essential paradigm. It's not just tweaking behaviors, but fundamentally altering your internal operating system.
And this leads to the powerful tool of a personal mission statement. Born from these deep values, it acts as a constitution, like a fundamental standard against which you can measure every daily decision regarding your time, your talents, your energy. It's your internal compass.
That makes sense. Covey explores various centers people build their lives around. Maybe a spouse, family, money, work, pleasure, friends or enemies, church, or even just the self.
Right.
The problem is, if any of these is your only center, it creates vulnerability, distorted guidance, limited wisdom, and reduced power. For example, if you're spouse-centered, your security is highly vulnerable to your spouse's moods, which can lead to disappointment.
Sure.
If you're money-centered, family or other priorities are often set aside. It sounds good on paper, maybe, but in practice, these single centers leave us profoundly exposed.
Contrast that with the principle-centered paradigm. Because principles are unchanging natural laws, basing your life on them offers deep security, reliable guidance, broad wisdom, and immense power. A principle-centered person tends to interpret all of life's experiences as opportunities for learning and contribution, fostering a proactive lifestyle. It's like an inner gyroscope that keeps you steady regardless of external storms.
So how do you tap into that, especially the intuitive, creative right brain for that first creation? Covey suggests conscious, perspective-expanding experiences. This could be visualizing your own funeral, like we mentioned, or maybe a milestone anniversary with your spouse, capturing the essence of the relationship you want to have created. You can also use affirmations, personal, positive, present tense, visual, and emotional statements. For a parent, maybe who overreacts to a child, it could be something like, "It is deeply satisfying that I respond with wisdom, love, firmness, and self-control when my children misbehave." It's about pre-programming your desired response.
Yeah, and we see the power of visualization used by peak performers, athletes, business people, who really begin with the end in mind. They don't just hope for success. They see it, they feel it, they experience it vividly before they actually do it. It creates an internal comfort zone for what they want to achieve.
Okay, so this brings us to habit 3. Put first things first. This is the physical creation, the practical fulfillment of habits 1 and 2. It's about exercising your independent will, your ability to make and keep commitments to yourself, which is the very essence of personal integrity. This is where the rubber meets the road, right?
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is the time management matrix, which categorizes activities by urgency and importance. Covey builds on previous generations of time management. The first focused on notes and checklists, the second on calendars and appointments, the third on prioritizing activities. But the fourth generation is principle-centered. It focuses on relationships and results over mere efficiency, acting more like a compass rather than a rigid roadmap.
A compass, okay. And the heart of this fourth generation, the heart of effective personal management, lies squarely in quadrant 2. Important, but not urgent.
Exactly.
This is where prevention, planning, relationship building happen. But here's the rub, and this is where Covey is brilliant, I think. Quadrant 2 isn't just about efficiency, it's a test of our courage. The urgent flashing lights of quadrant first, crises, and third, interruptions driven by others' priorities, constantly demand our attention. Saying yes to quadrant 2 often means having the uncomfortable courage to say no to things that feel important but ultimately aren't aligned with our deepest values. My wife once beautifully illustrated this when she pleasantly but firmly declined a committee role. She simply had a bigger yes burning inside her for other, more important priorities. The enemy of the best is often the good.
Precisely. This ability to prioritize based on true importance allows you to shape your life rather than just react to it. It fosters intrinsic security, knowing you are living by your values.
And a key quadrant 2 activity is delegation. But not gopher delegation, right? Which is all about micromanaging methods, telling people how to do things.
No. We're talking about stewardship delegation, which focuses on results and empowers others. It's a massive trust builder.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, consider this detailed, delightful anecdote from the source. The author's agreement with his young son about yard work. It involved 5 elements of stewardship delegation. Clearly defining desired results, green and clean, establishing guidelines like no messes, identifying resources, dad would help when available, setting accountability, the son would judge himself twice a week by green and clean, and understanding consequences.
Okay.
The son initially didn't do a thing, but when the father truly helped by picking up some trash as agreed, the son, signed the agreement in his heart. This fostered self-management and trust, even if it took more time up front. Trust, as we know, is the highest form of human motivation.
It all comes back to that central message, doesn't it? Private victory precedes public victory. You simply can't talk your way out of problems you behave yourself into. Self-mastery is the absolute foundation for effective relationships with others. It's the rock upon which everything else is built.
Absolutely.
Now, once we've achieved that internal strength, how do we translate that into truly effective relationships? That's where we pivot to part 3. public victories, working effectively with others. The first concept here is a powerful metaphor, the emotional bank account.
Oh, yes.
Just like a financial account, you make deposits to build trust and withdrawals deplete it. It's about creating a feeling of safety with another person, a sense that they can rely on you.
And Covey outlines 6 major types of deposits that build this trust, and it's worth noting why these are so potent. First, understanding the individual. Truly seeking to understand what constitutes a deposit for them, not just what you think is a deposit.
Right, because it's different for everyone.
Exactly. The source tells of a father who didn't even like baseball but spent 6 weeks taking his son to every major league park because, as he said, I like my son that much. Another professor, struggling with his teenage son, built a miniature Great Wall of China with him, which transformed their relationship. It shows genuine presence and a willingness to enter their world.
Wow.
Second, attending to the little things. Small kindnesses and courtesies are huge deposits. Conversely, little discourtesies make massive withdrawals.
Why is that?
Because consistent small actions communicate respect or disrespect. In relationships, the little things are the big things. Third, keeping commitments. This is a major deposit. Breaking a promise is a huge withdrawal because people build hopes and plans around promises. It directly impacts reliability, which is foundational to trust.
Makes sense.
Fourth, clarifying expectations. The root of most relationship difficulties lies in conflicting or ambiguous expectations. Making them clear and explicit upfront, even if it takes courage and time, saves immense effort and misunderstanding later. It prevents unspoken resentments from festering. Yeah, that's a big one.
Fifth, showing integrity. This means being loyal to those not present. If you badmouth someone behind their back, people will assume you'll do the same to them. Defending the absent builds trust with those present because it demonstrates consistency of character.
Right. What you say about others says a lot about you.
Precisely. And sixth, apologizing sincerely when you make a withdrawal. When you make a mistake, apologize quickly and genuinely. The author shares a personal anecdote of overreacting to his son David, only to realize David was trying to help his injured brother. An immediate, sincere apology led to a deeper bond.
Why is that apology so powerful?
Because it rebuilds trust. It demonstrates that you value the relationship more than your ego.
Okay, that makes sense. Next up is habit 4. Think win-win. This isn't about compromise, is it? It's a frame of mind and heart that constantly seeks mutual benefit.
It sees life as cooperative, not competitive, and it's rooted in the abundance mentality, the belief that there's enough for everyone, that one person's success doesn't diminish another's. In an age of social media where comparison and perceived scarcity are rampant, cultivating an abundance mentality isn't just powerful, it's maybe even a radical act of self-preservation.
Oh, absolutely. And this contrasts sharply with other philosophies we often default to. Win-lose, which is authoritarian, scarcity-driven, common in competition. Lose-win, that's appeasement, wanting to be liked, but it leads to internal resentment. Lose-lose, mutual destruction, often seen in extreme conflict. And just plain win, self-focused, others irrelevant. Our families and peer groups often deeply script us into a win-lose mentality early in life, making this habit a conscious shift.
And a crucial option here is win-win or no deal. This provides immense emotional freedom, apparently. If you can't find a solution that genuinely benefits both parties, you agree to walk away. This prevents resentment and long-term damage, like in the family who chose to do something else rather than watch a movie where some enjoyed it at others' expense. It sounds ideal, but in practice, isn't no deal incredibly hard? Especially when the stakes are high or you really need a deal. How do you maintain that emotional fortitude?
Oh, that's where the character ethic comes back in, isn't it?
Yeah, okay.
It requires deep personal security and the understanding that walking away from a bad deal is actually a win for your integrity and your future relationships. It prevents those slow, corrosive withdrawals from the emotional bank account. Thinking win-win has these 5 dimensions. Character, integrity is the cornerstone. Relationships, a high emotional bank account is essential. Agreements, clearly defined win-win agreements. Systems, reward systems, training, etc., must align to support the behavior. And process, communication focused on seeking understanding. For example, one company changed its compensation system so managers only earned when salespeople earned, fostering win-win behavior internally, not just externally.
That leads perfectly into habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This is the principle of empathic communication. It's like an optometrist, right? You wouldn't trust one who prescribed glasses without first diagnosing your problem.
Exactly. Good analogy.
Yet, how often do we rush to prescribe solutions without truly understanding the issue?
So often. Most people, when listening, do so with the intent to reply, filtering everything through their own autobiography and experiences. Covey describes 4 levels of listening: ignoring, pretending, selective, and attentive. But the 5th, the highest level, is empathic listening. This isn't just hearing words. It's listening with your eye, your heart, your entire being, to truly understand the other person's frame of reference, their feelings, their perspective.
Okay, let me try and dramatize a common interaction. A teenage son says, "Boy, Dad, I've had it. School is for the birds." And the father, with good intentions, might say, "Well, you just can't see the benefits yet, son. I felt the same way when I was your age. Just hang in there." Or, "Have you really tried?"
Yet, jumping to solutions.
Exactly. He's probing, advising, interpreting, evaluating all autobiographical responses that shut down communication. The son just wanted to talk, but the father immediately stepped on his psychological air, trying to fix rather than understand.
Okay, now, let's reenact that using empathic listening. The son says, "Boy, Dad, I've had it. School is for the birds." And the father responds, "You're really frustrated about school."
Just reflecting the feeling.
Right. The son then opens up, "I'm going to flunk, Dad. I guess I figure if I'm going to flunk, I might as well quit. But I don't want to quit." The father then recognizes, "You feel torn. You're in the middle of a dilemma." By genuinely seeking to understand, the father gives his son psychological air, allowing him to breathe, process his own thoughts, and suddenly they're on the same side of the table looking at the problem. This leads to deeper trust and understanding of the real underlying issue: fear of failure.
That's powerful. This brings to mind the ancient Greek philosophy of ethos, pathos, logos.
Yes.
Ethos is your personal credibility. Pathos is the empathic side, aligning with the other person's feelings. And logos is the logic. The crucial sequence is character first, then empathy, then logic.
The sequence matters.
So often, we jump straight to logic, trying to convince with facts, but without first building trust, ethos, and understanding the other person's perspective, pathos, our logic just falls on deaf ears. This sequence works because ethos creates trust, and pathos opens the emotional channel, making the mind receptive to logos. Without trust and emotional connection, even the most brilliant logic is often perceived as an attack.
What's powerful here is that empathic listening is always within your circle of influence. It builds emotional bank accounts, and perhaps even more importantly, it provides you with truly accurate information, helping you get to the heart of matters quickly and efficiently.
Okay, so all of these public victories seem to culminate in habit 6, Synergize. This is described as the highest activity, the true test of all the other habits, because it creates something new alternatives where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, like 1 + 1 or even 8 or even 16.
Exactly. Synergistic communication requires openness, personal security, and a spirit of adventure, because it often involves ambiguity and creative exploration. What's fascinating is the example of a university class that started with open sharing, transcending its planned structure, leading to a new thrust and a cohesive and synergistic culture that continued for years after the semester ended. It's about more than compromise. It's about co-creation.
Okay, think of a common interdependence scenario. A husband wants to go fishing with his sons. His wife wants to visit her ailing mother.
Classic conflict.
Right. A typical compromise leaves both unhappy, perhaps half-heartedly doing one thing while wishing they were doing another.
But with a high emotional bank account, win-win thinking, and empathic listening, they can find a third alternative that's better than either original proposal. They pool their desires, work together on the problem, and find a creative solution that satisfies everyone deeply, rather than compromising and feeling resentful.
So they might find a way for both activities to happen, or discover something new altogether.
Precisely. Perhaps they discover a third, entirely new activity that fulfills the deeper needs of both.
Synergy is also about whole brain thinking, engaging both the intuitive, creative right brain and the analytical, logical left brain. I remember reading about a company president and his wife who struggled because he sought specific left brain facts while she spoke in right brain feelings.
Oh, that's common.
They were frustrated until they learned to value these differences, leading to psychic synergy, not just intellectual agreement, but a profound emotional and spiritual resonance where their combined inner worlds created something greater and more harmonious.
And valuing differences is key to synergy, because life isn't always dichotomous. There are almost always third alternatives. As the animal school analogy highlights, where a fish is judged on its ability to climb a tree, forcing everyone to conform to one strength is just absurd. Synergy also helps reduce restraining forces, those negative, illogical, unconscious factors that push against growth.
Okay, what do you mean by restraining forces?
Well, this framework helps us visualize the positive driving forces pushing us towards a goal, and the restraining forces holding us back. Synergy, in this context, allows us to creatively reduce that resistance by finding common ground, rather than just pushing harder against it.
I see. So in business, legal disputes, countless scenarios when habits 4, 5, and 6 are applied, problems that seemed insurmountable often resolve quickly, leading to outcomes better than anyone initially envisioned.
Yes, it's a testament to the power of genuinely collaborative problem solving.
Okay, finally, we arrive at habit 7, sharpen the saw. This is about personal production capability, or PC preserving and enhancing your greatest asset, yourself. It involves renewing your 4 fundamental dimensions. Covey makes the point that often we're too busy chopping down the tree to realize our saw is dull. This habit is about taking the time to sharpen it.
Yes, crucial. These 4 dimensions of renewal are 1, physical. This is about exercise building, endurance, flexibility, strength. But the greatest benefit isn't just physical. It's developing your proactivity, acting on values, rather than reacting to forces that prevent exercise. You'll gain more afternoon energy, and the consistent effort builds confidence and integrity.
Okay.
2, spiritual. This provides leadership to your life, connecting you to your core values and timeless truths. Examples include prayer, meditation, immersing yourself in great literature or music, or communing with nature. The poignant story of Dr. Gordon illustrates this beautifully. His doctor gave him 4 prescriptions, culminating in examine your motives and write your worries on the sand. Gordon realized that if one's motives are wrong, nothing can be right, and that by letting go of worries, the tide would come in and wash them away.
Wow, examine your motives. That's deep.
It is. 3, mental. This involves continuing formal education through reading, writing, exploring new subjects. It's about wise self-management, cautioning against excessive passive television consumption, and actively engaging your mind. It's about feeding your brain, not just filling it. And 4, social emotional. This dimension is renewed through service and contribution, building intrinsic security. It also involves scripting others, choosing to reflect a clear, positive, undistorted vision of others, affirming their proactive nature.
Scripting others, how does that work?
Think of the Man of La Mancha analogy, where Don Quixote inspires Dulcinea to see herself as she truly could be, or the computer IQ study, where teachers' positive or negative expectations became self-fulfilling prophecies for students' performance. Our perception literally shapes their reality.
That's quite a responsibility. Covey calls the first 3 dimensions, physical, spiritual, and mental, the daily private victory. He highly recommends dedicating a minimum of 1 hour a day to this. He calls it the key to the development of the 7 habits and the foundation for the daily public victory, building intrinsic security. Honestly, for me, fitting that hour in feels like its own major habit. Do you have like a particular ritual you stick to, or a way you convince yourself to sharpen your saw on those days when it feels impossible?
That's a great question, and yeah, it is a consistent challenge. For me, my ritual often involves a specific walking path where I intentionally put away my phone and just observe. It's a small act of rebellion, maybe, against constant connectivity.
I like that, an act of rebellion.
It reminds me that this daily renewal is completely within my circle of influence. It fosters the abundance mentality and provides the personal strength you need to effectively practice habits 4, 5, and 6 in interdependent relationships. Those 60 minutes aren't just an expense, they're an investment with exponential returns.
An investment.
Okay.
And speaking of investment, the author shares this deeply personal story of consistently spending 2 hours a day for a full year engaged in deep communication with his wife on a motorcycle in Hawaii.
Yeah, that's quite a commitment.
They talk not just about topics, but their inner worlds, their scripting, even confronting difficult issues like his wife's Frigidaire obsession, her preoccupation with cleanliness. This profound, often vulnerable interaction led to psychic synergy, strengthening their relationship immensely and allowing them to understand each other's deepest motivations. It sounds simple, maybe, but that kind of consistent, intentional presence is revolutionary.
And this kind of deliberate, deep connection reinforces the power of a strong intergenerational family in providing both roots and wings. Proactive families consciously pass on principle-based scripts, nurturing a sense of identity and belonging that benefits everyone across generations. True, lasting change, as Covey emphasizes again and again, comes inside out. By striking at the root, shifting fundamental paradigms, and allowing moral truths to become an intrinsic part of who we are. It's not just about what you do, but who you are.
So we've journeyed through the foundational principles of seeing differently, the private victories of self-mastery, the public victories of effective interdependence, and the vital practice of continuous renewal. It really is a powerful framework for living, challenging us to look beyond quick fixes and truly build from the inside out.
And as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider the law of the harvest. You always reap what you sow. If you dedicate yourself to these principles of continuous learning, commitment, and proactive action, what new harvest might you begin to cultivate in your own life and relationships starting today?